Okay, welcome to module 2 video lesson 1, and I'm very excited to walk you into the entire module 2. Now, before we dive in the module 1, we've covered quite a lot of things. We've learned how to set up company, we've learned how to create company file, we've learned how to handle employees, we covered how to handle customers, we learned how to handle vendors, and we learned how to even add salary items and deductions. Now, in this new module, we're gonna focus on something totally different, but something that's very important. So I want you to pay close attention. Now, for today's video lesson, we're gonna focus on how to set up QuickBooks system based on your company preferences. Let me explain this. Now, when you look at our interface, for instance, you notice here we don't have purchase orders. Whatever our company places purchase orders, receives those orders, and then pay the bills. We don't have a purchase order here. So right now, we cannot do that. Now, when you talk about setting up or customizing your QuickBooks system to assume your company preferences, those are the things that you're talking about. We are going to activate those things that you need that you can't see right now on your system, like purchase orders. Now, that's one example. I want to give you another example. Let's look at our chart of accounts right here. If I click chart of accounts, it's going to open chart of accounts, and what you notice here is the chart of accounts, they are listed in alphabetical order. Okay, now what if we want to assign numbers to our chart of accounts such that instead of following alphabetical order, they can follow specific account numbers? We can do that when setting up company preferences. I'm gonna show you how to do exactly that. So I will close this. When we talk about setting up a system, QuickBooks system, to assume our company preferences, those are the changes that we are talking about. Another example, right now, when we were setting up QuickBooks, we only had one currency, US dollars. What if we want to make changes such that we have new, actually what you call home currency, the Kenyan shillings? We didn't have that opportunity when we were setting up the company. The only thing that you saw was US dollars. And you want to set up your company to operate in Kenyan shillings. How do you activate that? How do you turn on that feature? That is what we mean, or that's what I mean when I talk about setting up company preferences, turning on those features that you want to use in your company and turning off those features that you don't actually need them. I'm going to show you how to do that. Another example when it comes to company preference, let's say you want QuickBooks to remind you of a certain key transactions, maybe when they are past due date, or to help you or remind you about a transaction that is 30 days close to due date. You want to turn on those reminders in the system so the QuickBooks system will always remind you, so you don't have to track all those things manually. You can turn on the reminder feature and QuickBooks will always tell you when a given transaction is either 90 days or 30 days past the due date, or when a given bill is 30 days close to due date. So those are the features you're going to be turning on, and others you're going to be turning them off. I'm gonna show you how that one works. All right, so let's get started. Now, to make changes on company preferences, you need to go to edit menu, and then you come down to preferences. Right here we are, let me pull the window up a little bit. We have preferences, and with different sections here. There's accounting preference, there's bills preference, there's calendar, there's checking and all that, desktop view, finance charges, general, integrated applications. We have items and inventory, jobs and estimates, multiple currency, payments, payroll, employees, reminders, reports, and graphs, all that stuff. I'll be walking you through a number of these. I want to show you how they work. Now, we're going to start with accounting. Now, right here on accounting, there are two tabs right here. We have my preferences and we have company preferences. Okay, so mostly what we're going to focus on is company preference, right? So right now we are on accounting. We come to company preference. And what do you notice? We have accounts, use account numbers. When you turn this feature on by clicking this checkbox, what you're telling the system is, instead of having these charts of accounts in alphabetical order, you're telling the system to assign them account numbers. And when you activate this one, that is exactly what you get. Let's try it and see. I'm gonna activate use account numbers. Then I'm going to close this. I'll click OK. And what do you notice here? They are given numbers. In fact, let's click chart of accounts and see what we have. There you go. So what you have here is the list, the charts of accounts. They are all assigned numbers. Initially, we had them assigned alphabetical order. Right now, they are assigned numbers. That is how you turn on that feature. So I'm going to close it. And then let's get back there again and make some more changes. I'll click edit. You come to preference. We are still on accounts. So we click company preference. So check this one and you're going to have your charts of accounts, and you can see some of them here assigned numbers. And then you have use class tracking. Now, if your business has several branches in multiple locations and you want to be able to track how each branch performs, that is when you activate this. Let's talk about a class tracking. You have one business, it has different branches in different locations, and all the operations are centralized in the main branch. This system is in your main branch, but you want to be able to track how each of those branches perform, so that when you're generating your report, you can see branch A, this is how it performed, branch B, this is how it performed, main branch, this is how it performed. You activate this, use class tracking, and then once you activate that one, when generating reports, it will be generating reports based on how each class or each branch or each location of your business has performed. It will be able to get clear, detailed reports that enable you to know whether a given business has been a branch is making profit or it's making loss. It's a way to be able to get very to get clear details for every branch, to be able to know how that business is performing. So you activate use class tracking. Now, of course, prompt to assign classes. This one becomes important. It's been naturally activated when you're doing any transaction. The system wants to know that transaction is occurring in which branch. Is it a branch A, branch B, or branch C? So you just leave it activated. And then we have these date warnings. Now, warn if transaction are 90 days in the past. It will warn you if any given transaction are 90 days in the past, and you can even change this one and say 45 days in the past, depends on what you want. And then it can also warn you if a transaction are 30 days in the future. Okay, so this is how you turn those reminders on, or those warning on, and the system will be able to warn you on those transactions that are 90 days in the past, and those are 30 days. So whichever days you want, maybe 15 days, you can change that one into the future. Then you have closing date here. Now this closing date, it's very, very important. This section is very, very important, and I'm going to take some time and explain it. Now, in QuickBooks, we have what we call, in accounting, actually have what we call closing books of accounts. Let's say, for instance, let's say right now we are on July. Before we start the month of July, at the end of June, we closed the books of accounts. We settled all the transactions that took place in the month of June. We closed those books, and now we started afresh on the month of July. Now, oftentimes it is possible to close books of accounts and then later on realize that you made some mistakes in the already closed books of accounts. For instance, let's say in the month of June we entered a given bill twice, and then we closed the books of account without knowing. And then on July we realized that in the month of June we entered a bill twice, and we closed those books of accounts. Now oftentimes, as someone would want to go back to June and delete one of those bills, but that's not a good accounting practice. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to offset that entry in the month of July. You cannot, and you're not supposed to go back in the month of June and delete that given bill. You're supposed to offset it in the month of July. Now, setting date and password helps you, or becomes very important when you are closing books of accounts. What normally happens is, let's say today I'm closing my books of accounts. I'll come here and click date and password. Now it will require me to enter the date for which I am closing the books of accounts, and it also requires me to enter password for the month whose books of account I'm closing. Now when I enter the date here and the password here, what happens is when I close those books of account, let's assume right now we are on June. When we get to July and I try to come back on this month of June, where I made a mistake and entered a bill twice, when I come back here, or when someone else using the system comes back here and try to delete one of those bills, the system will require them to enter password for them to be able to make changes on the month of June whose books of accounts have been closed. So if they don't know the password, then they cannot go there and make changes. It's a way that helps you realize that you're trying to make some changes on the books of account that have been closed, which is not a good accounting practice. And so rather than go and delete that extra bill of June, they're supposed to enter or to make an offset entry in the current month, which they are in the month of July. So by setting password and the date you close your books of account, it helps you protect your records on the books of accounts that have already been closed. You protect them from anyone else coming and making changes on those books of accounts. It also helps you and helps the system to remind you when you try to attempt and do that. So this is very, very important, and you use it when you're closing books of accounts. So it's not a practice that most accounting professionals use, but it's very, very important because it protects and secures your records, those books of account that have already been closed. So you want to use this one when you close your books of account. It's very, very important. It will protect your data. It will secure your data. If let's go back here, it says to keep your financial data secure, QuickBooks recommends assigning all other users their own username and password in company setup users, company, and then setup users. Now, I want to point out something. QuickBooks can be used by a number of users. You can have the accountant, you can have the cashier, you can have any other person that interacts with the system use the account, but you're supposed to assign them account. You're supposed to assign them passwords and user accounts, something that you're going to be doing later. And you can give them different access rights to different information. Okay, not everyone using the system is supposed to be able to access everything. Okay, some of them you only allow them to go as far as just making a transaction, but they cannot alter that transaction once the transaction is meant, because they don't have the right to do that. So you can set up different rights or different levels or privileges that allow a given user to make transactions or to make changes on the system. The accountant or you yourself are the owner of the business. You give yourself all the rights of the admin to be able to access everything, but the rest of the people, you give them different levels of access so that you don't allow them to access very, very confidential information like customers, credit card numbers, and all that kind of stuff. You can set different levels for your users. I'm going to be showing you how to set account users for different users of the QuickBooks system. Now, if one of those users who is not the owner of the company comes to or tries to make some changes on books of account that have already been closed, if you had entered a password and a closing date, then that user will not be able to make those changes. Your data will be secure. So that's why this one is very, very important. You need to set up date and a password when you're closing your books of account. It will protect your data from changes from any other user of the QuickBooks system, because it will require the password for them to be able to make that change. So this one's very, very important. So I'm gonna cancel this and let's continue. So that is it about accounting. Now let's go to bills. Now you made changes in accounting preference. Do you wish to save them? Of course, yes, we want to save those changes. And then you continue. Bills preference, nothing. Let's go to company preference. Let's see what we have. Enter in bills. Bills are due 10 days after receipt. Now, depending on the agreement that you have with your vendor, when your bills are due, you enter those dates here. Let's say 30 days. Let's say if I place a purchase order and I receive goods today, from the date that I've received the goods, I should pay my bills 30 days from the date I've received my goods. So what I need to do here, I need to come and enter 30 days. What the system will do is it will keep warning me, okay, or reminding me that I should pay my bills within the 30-day duration. Okay, so that's why this one is very, very important. If the agreement with the vendor is to clear the bills within 15 days, then you enter 15 days. This time will remind you when your bills are due. Warn about duplicate bills numbers from the same vendor. Of course, you want the system to warn you if you're trying to use if there's a duplicate bill numbers from the same vendor paying bills. Now you activate this one if you want to automatically use credits to pay your bills, automatically use discounts if all the vendors if your vendors give you some discounts, you can activate this one, automatically use a discount, default discount account, and then you pick any given account there, but just let's deactivate those ones. And then you go to there's no match in calendar. Let's save those changes. When you go to calendar, there's no match in calendar. My preferences, calendar view, remember last view, there's no match here. Let's just go to checking. Also there's no match. Let's go to desktop view. Also there's no match here, but let me point out a few things. If you activate one window, what you notice is you're going to have only one window on your desktop view when it comes to QuickBooks. If I activate multiple windows, what you notice is you can have multiple windows open. Like I have this window, I have this window, and I have this window open. Okay, normally multiple window works the best. Don't use one window. Okay, you want to be able to open multiple windows. Like currently we have this window open, we have this window right here open, and we have this window right here open. Gives you the convenience that you need. It's going to have that one active. Desktop save when closing company. Of course, you want the system to save any change that you made in closing the company. Save current desktop. Don't save the desktop. Show home page and all that. So basically here you set up how you want the desktop of your system to look like. Company preferences, let's see what we have. Select features that you want to show on the home page. Yeah, you can decide what you want to see on the home page. As far as customer is concerned, you want to see sales receipts, you want to see statements and statement charges, enter bills and all that. So you activate what you want to see and you deactivate what you don't want to see. We're not going to make any changes there, so we go to finance charges. All right, let's see annual interest rate, minimum finance charges, grace period, finance account. Just to move on, general, time format, show portions of hours. You can decide how you want your time to be shown on the system. If you pick decimal, you're gonna have your time shown. If it's 10 and 20 minutes AM, you're gonna see 10.20. It's gonna be able to have it in minutes, so you can find that one. You can see it's 10 AM, and 12 minutes. So here we go with the minutes, and then we have always show years as 4 digits. Of course, we want the years to be shown in 4 digits. This becomes very important when you're printing your receipts and you are writing estimates and invoices. You want to make sure that the dates and the time are clear. So you show years in 4 digits. Never update name information when saving transaction. Save transaction before printing. Of course, you want to save transaction before printing. Then let's go to items and inventory. Now this one becomes very important. Before I explain this one, let me just say okay here, and let me expand this. Now what you notice here is we don't have purchase order. Okay, we only have enter bills and pay bills. we do or we place purchase orders in our company. So we want to activate that feature and define that feature in the preferences. So let's go there and activate it. So go to edit, preferences, and items and inventory, company preference. Notice the inventory and purchase order are not active because this one's deactivated. You want to make sure they're active. So I'll click this and now they're active. Okay, if when we click OK, you're gonna see purchase order icons appearing here on the vendor section. Currently there are no purchase orders. They're going to appear once we click OK. Then one about duplicate purchase order numbers, of course we want that. When calculating quantity available for my inventory, deduct quantity reserved for paid-in bills, quantity on sales orders. Of course you want this one to be deducted because they're already sold anyway, so they are not supposed to be a part of quantity available. You want them deducted, so you activate those ones. One, if not inventory, enough inventory to sell. Of course, the reason using this system is you want it to warn you if you don't have enough inventory to sell. And so you activate this one, and then you have when the quantity I want to sell exceeds quantity available, you activate this one. What this means is you telling the system, let's say if I want to sell 20 cartons of milk, right? And I already have the quantity available, the cartons available are 2. You want the system to warn you if you try to sell 20 cartons and you already have 2 cartons available for sale or on the shelves. So you want it to show you that warning, so you don't have something that does not something that is not enough. You don't sell 20 cartons when you already have 2 cartons. So these are the warning and the reminders the system will show you on the screen, so you don't sell something that is not enough to a given customer. Let's go to job estimates. Of course, let's click yes to make those changes. Your main changes are in items and inventory preference. Do you wish to say them? Of course, yes. QuickBooks must close or it's open windows to change these preferences. Now, what you notice is certain aspects here or certain sections here, when you activate them, it will require the entire system to close to turn them on. And one of those things is items inventory. When you activate that you want to have purchase orders, it will require the entire system to close for it to be able to activate this. Not all the sections that you require the entire system to close, but certain sections like inventory and item. Items and inventory, it will require to close the entire system to be able to turn on that feature. So we're gonna say okay, and we'll close this. And it will activate that feature. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to close. I'm going to say yes. It will recommend backing up your data to avoid accidental data loss. Would you like to back up? This is a good practice. Always back up your data so you don't lose company information. In this case, because this is for the purpose of learning, I'm going to click no. And then I'm going to go right here and load the program again. Want to see whether it has activated the purchase orders. We expect to see changes on our QuickBooks interface. I'm going to click no. I will close this window, then I will maximize this window. Notice now we have purchase orders, receive inventory, enter bills against inventory. These features were not there, but because we turned them on in the items and inventory, they are now active. So let's continue. Let's go back to edit and come back to preferences. We were looking at, where were we? Jobs and estimates, company preferences. Now, QuickBooks assumes it assumes contracting business, or it assumes the construction industry kind of business, whereby you have long against a project with the clients. Okay, mostly it assumes the construction industry. And so we have what we call jobs and estimates. Now basically, job is let's say you have a client and you're doing for them house remodeling. In this case, the job here is remodeling. Now what is estimates? Estimates are basically quotations. Before the client engages you, you want to make a quotation to show them how much it would cost for the remodeling job, and those are what we are calling estimates. So when it comes to estimates, jobs and estimates section, what you see here is padding, and what you see here is padding. You see awarded, in progress. Of course, you want to keep improving on showing the status of a given project which you're working with a client. If the project is pending, it has not yet started, you want to indicate it's pending. Okay, if the project has been completed, then you want to show awarded. Of course, you can remove this for the pending project and type anything else that you want. Let's say I'm against with that client and I'm doing a house remodeling job for them, and we haven't started the job, so I can, for the pending job, I can say in waiting. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is I'm saying the job hasn't started, its status is still in waiting. Now let's say the job has been completed. I can indicate for the completed jobs, I can indicate project completed. I can just indicate completed. Okay, so basically this allows you to indicate or to type customized status for the job. It's pending, in waiting. If it's awarded, I can type in there completed. If the job is in progress, just leave it as in progress. If we close the job, we stopped working together, then I can indicate closed. Maybe something happened along the process and decided to stop the project for a while, I can indicate closed, or I can indicate closed, or I can even indicate stopped, right? So QuickBooks allows you to enter your own customized status. So let's retain this one as closed. Then if the job has not been awarded, if the customer hasn't yet given me the job, then I can indicate not awarded. It's the same case here. If the customer has awarded me the job, I can indicate awarded, or I can indicate completed. So basically this allows you to customize what you put in to show the job status. It's not going to change anything, rather we can have that one in waiting, and this one you can retain it as awarded. If the customer awards me the job in progress, we can retain it as it is. Closed, we're going to retain this one as closed. We're not going to make any changes. And then not awarded. Don't worry, when it comes to, we shall go back again to customers, and I'm going to show you where all this applies and actually show you them at work. So don't worry about that. So What you notice here is enter the customer status description you prefer for your business. For example, you could enter submitted for pending. Okay, so basically you enter what you want to indicate the status of the job. Now, do you create estimates? You want to tell the system whether you create estimates. And basically, if you're going to be working on client projects which take some time, then you want to be able to create estimates. So we choose yes for creating estimates. Now, let me show you something. If I move this window, allow me to move this window, what you notice here is we have estimates. And the reason we have estimates here is because here it is activated. What if I say I don't use estimates and I activate that one? And if I click OK, let's see whether this one estimates will disappear. Click OK. QuickBooks must close. What do you notice here? It has disappeared because I have deactivated it. It's no longer useful. So click. It will require to close the entire system to be able to do away with that feature called estimate. So at job and estimates, I can activate, I can turn on estimates, and I can also turn on invoicing or progressive invoicing. So click OK. The system will close, and when the system closes, it will be able to turn off the estimates feature. So when I close the system right here, I'll say yes, of course I want to exit the system, and I'll turn on the system again. I'll click QuickBooks Premier Accountant, and let's see whether we have the estimates turned off. Probably we'll find the estimate turned off because we said we don't want to use the estimates. That is how you turn on features, and that's how you turn off features. So for this one, I'll click no, and then I'll close this one. Then I'm going to close this one also. So what you notice here is we don't have estimates, okay, because we said we not gonna be using estimates, so the feature is turned off. So let's go back there and turn it on. Preference. So when I come to jobs and estimates, we go to company preferences, and then we turn on the estimates. Then when you turn on the estimates, what you notice is, do you do progressive invoicing? Now, of course, if you're using estimates, it means you do progressive invoicing. Now, let me explain what progressive invoicing is. This is where if you're taking doing a client project, you want to keep invoicing them continually as you continue with the project. So of course, if you're going to be using estimates, then it basically means that for your clients, you have a project-based engagement, like doing a remodeling of a house, installing things like internet, which is a project that you take some time, or road construction, which is a project that you take some time. So that means if you're going to be engaged in a road construction, assuming you have a client and you're doing road construction and they have taken you for that kind of a job, of course, you want, first of all, you want to create estimates for them. You want to quote for them what that job will cost. Once you quote for them and they award you the job, then you can start the job. Now, once you start the job, along the way, you want to progressively invoice them. Maybe after you have done a part of the project, maybe for 3 months, you invoice them, they pay you. You continue for another 3 months, you invoice them, they pay you. So you keep on progressively invoicing them until the entire project is completed. So that's what you mean when you talk about, do you issue a progressive or progressive invoicing? So system wants to know, do you do progressive invoicing? Of course, if we do project-based jobs for our clients, we want to do progressive invoicing. So when I come here and click yes, that means I'm going to do progressive invoicing. What you notice here is, if you say no, you don't use estimates, then you notice that this one becomes inactive. Why? Because if you don't create estimates, that means you probably purely sell products and you don't need to do any progressive invoicing. Progressive invoicing will become very important if you're creating estimates, because that indicates you have a long-term engagement with your client for the job you're doing for them. So you're gonna need to progressively invoice them. So depending on whether this one is on or off, it will affect this one. So let's go back to estimates. In this training course, I'm going to be showing you how to create estimates. So we are going to be using estimates, and then do you do progressive invoicing? We are going to activate yes. Then here we have one about duplicate estimates numbers. Of course, yes. Don't print that. Don't print items that have zero amount. Of course, yes. So that is how you do company preferences. So up to this point, gonna turn on those features that you have activated on. So I'm going to click OK, and then in the next lesson you're gonna come back and then you're gonna continue from here. I'm going to be showing how to handle multiple currencies. How do I activate Kenyan shillings? How do I activate Tanzanian shillings? How do I activate pounds and sterlings and all that, depending on the country you are in and what your home currency is. All that stuff is turned on and off right here on company preferences. So right now, what I want you to do is I want you to practice what you've just done. Go to accounting and turn on come back to accounting. Sorry, I'm gonna cancel that. Go to accounting, see whether you can assign accounting numbers to your chart of accounts. Go to bills, practice what you've done. Go to desktop, just see the changes that are going to happen as you turn on some of those features and you turn them off, including items and inventory. Remember, we didn't set up purchase order in our system. We've only done it right here. So I want you to turn on all those things, including job estimates. Here you can enter the customized status that you want, or you can just retain what we have here. So that's what I want you to do in this lesson. And then in the next lesson, I'm gonna pick from multiple currency. I will show you how to turn a home currency on, depending on your country, and other forms of currency. Okay, so get good at what you've done in this lesson, and then I will see you in the next lesson as we dive even deep into customizing company preferences. So I'll see you in the next lesson. In the meantime, let's click OK on this one, and let's allow QuickBooks to shut down to activate all that. Close all the program to activate all that, and let's exit QuickBooks. So I'm gonna close here. I'll say yes, I want to exit, and then we'll come back here. Let's turn on the system, and then I'll be leaving you to practice what you've just done before we meet in the next lesson and dive deep and complete our company preference customization. Always for this one, let me say this and let me point out this. Do you want to create new users? What we did with this is we didn't include several users into this system. I'm going to show you how to do that. So for this message, always click no, because you shall come back to that. And then I can close this, and then I can click here. Here we are. We have all the features that we turned on, including this numbering of our charts of accounts. Close this one. We have our purchase order turned on. All those things we turned back on. Our estimates, we have invoices and all that. So I want you to practice what you've done in this lesson. Then in the next lesson, we're going to dive deep, and then we're going to finish up customizing our company preferences. Until then, get good at what you've done, and I'll see you in the next lesson.